not heard the bell, we wait, but I believe we'll go ahead and call the December meeting of the Monroe County Election Board to order. First item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from November 2025.
I second, and I would like to propose an amendment.
Okay. All right.
In the October 23rd, 2025 minutes that were approved at the November meeting, it indicates that Ms. Ferris indicated that the equipment needed for vote centers would not be here in time for the primary elections. Further investigation has shown that they could be here easily within inside of a month if we decided to go to vote centers, and I would like that added to the minutes, please, to reflect that, since it was, I believe, incorrect information in the earlier minutes.
So I reached out to Lawrence Leach to clarify it ahead of this meeting, and I have not heard back from him. It did not make sense to me that he would say one thing to the election supervisor and another thing to you. And it's not to say that he didn't tell you what he said, but I would like for him to put in writing exactly what he has said and then amend based on what he actually said. Or what he's written.
Okay, but I would like for the minutes to reflect at least what I said at the last minute meeting, and they do not. Also, it does not reflect the fact that Ms. Ferris indicated they would be available within 1 to 2 months. I was told that they would be available in 2 to 3 weeks, and I would like that included in the minutes. So I move that we add information to the minutes, indicated both what Ms. Ferris and what I indicated at the last meeting. I believe this is pertinent information given previous discussions.
I don't know exactly where to go with this. I'm not really sure that it's critical information at this point, because there is still no change on our part on whether or not to go to vote centers. So I don't have an issue with it being put into the minutes that this is what you were told versus what Ms. Ferris was told. I don't have an issue with that.
My motion will need a second, sir.
I'm not going to second it.
I'm not going to second
so then it will die without a second. So with that,
can I clarify what I think
yes.
is being voted on? So Clerk Brown made a motion to approve the minutes. There was a second to approve the minutes, but then I believe entangled in that was a motion to amend.
correct.
So the vote on the motion to amend, I believe, based on conversation, fails. But then there's still the underlying issue of are the minutes approved
That's
as is without an amendment.
That's where I was going next, was for a vote on that. Yes.
I withdraw my second.
Okay, then I will second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye or nay.
Okay. So the minutes are accepted. Election Central update, that would be Vote Central.
All right, I wanted to give a update on voterless maintenance. Our team at voter registration has been working very hard on making sure that these are all being processed. We will be receiving the third delivery of the voterless maintenance today. It will be a pallet that will entail 30 boxes of postcards and 2 envelopes of postcards as well. So from today, moving forward, we're going to be very busy with getting those processed. They do take about generally 2 minutes per individual to make sure that they're put in the system, they have been scanned in, and their information is up to date. And then once we get those completed, I will come back with a final update of the number of people who have been moved to inactive, canceled, or stayed active, and should have an updated number of registered voters in Monroe County.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this? I see none, so we'll move on to new business, the first being the election board's meeting schedule. So the reason that potentially other days rather than Thursday for the meeting would be mostly to help Kylie with having more than just the Friday after a meeting to do the work that she needed to do. Since we've talked about that, we see that there are issues with meetings on Wednesday. And I don't know about we've talked about Tuesday as well.
I do have a set list for both, for all three, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the packets that you guys received. The Tuesday one was just drafted a couple minutes before the meeting in order for you guys to see what those days would fall on.
Is this a discussion or are you making a motion?
I'm not making a motion yet. We're right. Currently, I'm just discussing about what we're doing.
So I am just realizing today about the proposal to move the meetings up. I wanted to bring up the fact that we moved the time when another board's meeting was moved to from Wednesdays to Thursdays. And our voters are used to the first Thursday of every month, and then we move the time. So just in terms of called conferences or clerk meetings or legislative items at the State House, those tend to be at the beginning of the week because the legislators go toward the end of the week. And so I would propose that we leave the schedule on Thursdays. That's just my perspective.
I don't have a huge issue with it in any way. As I mentioned, it was to make it easier for Kylie to get her stuff done. So I would assume then that we need to a motion to which one of these calendars to take. Is that correct?
I would recommend doing a motion to determine which calendar you would like attached to the resolution, and I drafted a resolution setting the meeting schedule. This way, this resolution can be provided to the commissioner's office, and then the election board meetings would be included in the annual notice for meetings. Right now, the resolution does have the Thursday schedule at 1:30. So if you're okay with the resolution that was provided before the meeting, you could consider a motion to adopt that as is.
I will make a motion to adopt the resolution that was prepared prior to the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any public comment on it? I guess I should ask. Would you come to the mic, please?
I just need to reiterate it again, what it is that you guys are approving. Is it 1:30 on Thursdays?
That's the current motion, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to, that's all I needed, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, those in favor of the first Thursday of the month continuing, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we will meet on the first Thursday of the month, continuing. All right, we have an election budget conversation. I assume, Ms. Kylie, that's yours as well.
Okay, so in your guys' packet at the very back, I attached a few handwritten documents that I have been working on past couple of days. Got tied up during the commissioners meeting this morning, so I didn't have time to translate it over to PDFs or anything for you guys. But I will get those transitioned over after this meeting. Those are going to be just numbers of how many poll workers I intend to have at each of the polling locations, determined on what we decide today moving forward for election day and for early voting. Just trying to show and have an understanding of where budget lays in the issues of not having enough to get through the full year, but having enough to get through the primary, and how we want to proceed with that.
May I ask how these numbers of workers correspond to the number of workers in 2024?
They're slightly lower since it is a midterm, but for the general, it's going to be the same as the presidential due to the expected high turnout that we are being informed to be prepared for.
So do these numbers, are they for both primary and
Yes.
general combined?
Yes. And in there, I do have it also separated by primary. Once again, I will get it in a better format so it's easier to read. Just wanted to make sure that you guys had the numbers so that you can review them until I do have that completed.
Thank you.
So in layman's terms, we do not have, in my professional opinion, the money to run the kind of primary early voting hours or general election early voting hours that we are normally accustomed to. And so I am proposing the statute, the Indiana statute says that we only have to have voting during the actual hours that the clerk's office is open, which is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so our money would stretch further to reduce those hours. It is not something that I want to do. It is not something that, it gives me heartburn to even have to suggest it, but the fact of the matter is that we do not, with the council having removed money from the election budget, we do not have the money to run, or the staffing, or the overtime to run the kind of primary early voting hours that we are accustomed to.
I'm sure I know the answer to this already, but you said your hours were 8 to 4.
Yes, traditionally, our early voting hours have been 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Are you?
And so I'm proposing the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., which still complies with the statute saying that early voting hours at least have to be the hours that the clerk's office is open, and the hours that the clerk's office operates are Monday through Friday,
8 to
with
4.
the
Okay.
8 to 4, with the exception of county holidays.
So that the Saturdays are additional days.
Correct, those are mandated.
Are mandated.
The last 2 Saturdays are
Are
mandated.
mandated, okay.
Which those would be 7 hours and would be the 9 to 4 as they always have been.
And I know the answer to this. You couldn't have, and you maybe don't want to have, rather than an 8 to 4, have a 10 to 6. I'm sure that's probably not acceptable on specific days, so people would have that until 6 o'clock when they customarily, and I know what that means, are off of work in time to have some time after work. Because 8 to 4 is, few people work jobs that give them 8 to 4.
You're correct. You're correct. I am saying I would not have the staffing to people's hours. Their regularly scheduled hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so, and the statute says you have to have early voting during the hours that the clerk's office is open. This not only impacts early voting in terms of the voters, we will not be able to do evening poll worker training, weekend poll worker training, many of the things that we have been accustomed to doing because the money was there. The money is no longer there.
But didn't the county council tell you on more than one occasion that you could come back and ask for additional appropriations?
What my liaisons and I spoke about is the fact that we are lucky to have jobs this year, that next year's budget is going to be worse. The next year's budget is going to be worse than that. And so I did not hear anything from my liaisons that guaranteed me that the money would be there when we go back.
But it's on public record in the council meetings, at least 2 different times that they said you can come back for additional appropriations based upon how much you actually spend in the primary, right?
They have not said that directly to me. I am saying they removed the money that we had. They did invite me to come back. I am saying that I have no reason no guarantees that the money is there or will be there. Everything got cut.
Understand that, but we have to do in the general what we do in the primary,
Correct,
correct?
which is
So-
why I'm proposing that's why I'm saying that if we try to run one that we're accustomed to, there's no guarantee that the money would be there to do the same thing in November.
But I think that they would be compelled to because under statute, they have to meet the same hours. Furthermore, one of the things that I have heard you say multiple times is that voters don't like change. And in this situation, people expect to be able to vote until 6 p.m. in this county, and I think it would disenfranchise voters if we moved it back to 4 p.m. I understand what the law requires, but I also understand what voters in this county are accustomed to having available to them.
Okay. And I understand what you're saying. I am saying that in the same, the money is not there. In the same way that you could never ask a law enforcement agency, stop investigating this murder because it's the end of the shift. So their overtime was not touched. Their resources were not touched in that way. My staff leaves at 4. I have no one to supervise poll workers and staff that we hire if the office closes at 4. So if the money is not there, we have to stop at 4. It impacts travel board. It impacts poll worker training. We do not have the money to run a regular primary in the way that we are accustomed to.
Kylie, has this proposed schedule been taken to the council?
It has been given to both liaisons that we have for the clerk's office and a county commissioner.
So are we maybe a little bit ahead of where we need to be until we hear back from them?
We
as
have
far as
heard.
making a decision.
We have heard back from them. I went to a PAC meeting about the hiring freeze and how it was going to affect us. And what we were told during that PAC meeting is the years to come are going to change. So it's best to cut services now than it is to lose employees in the future.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I don't know that the information has been provided to full council. I have not seen an email to full council with this. I think it's been provided to 2 council members, so I don't know if providing it to full council would be a conversation starter. And in regards to the hiring freeze at the PAC meeting, the policy that the county council passed allows for an exemption in the hiring freeze. It establishes a process. Nothing prevents the clerk's office from asking the council to make an exemption. They didn't make a blanket exemption, but if you submit a request prior to the primary saying we need this many poll workers, council might have a discussion more in depth about that.
Okay, so again, I go back to, should we not take this and take what Kylie's put together with state statute, as you've talked about, send it to the entire council and say, this is what we're going to do with the money that we have. If you want more than this, we need the dollars to be able to do that.
I think it's worth the conversation with the council. So yes, that's what I would recommend. I think having a conversation with them.
Does that work for you folks?
I mean, the conversation is certainly worth having. I feel like if it would resonate, if it were going to resonate, we would not have lost the money in the first place. Because everybody knows elections have to happen. Everybody knows what Monroe County is used to. And so, yes, I spoke with my liaisons. I have no reason to believe that they would keep it a secret from their colleagues.
Do you have any thoughts on it?
Well, I was in touch with my chair and about this, and she felt that shortening daily hours would disproportionately affect voters who rely on the flexibility of voting options, such as working families, students, seniors, and those with transportation barriers. And so the position of my chair and that I also hold is that we should not cut those hours, that we should maintain what we've been offering so that we encourage as many people as possible to vote. And we want, I know that you also favor elections that are open and available to people. And so my position, I would like to maintain the longer hours.
Well, I don't think anybody doesn't want to maintain longer hours.
Correct.
The issue is we have to pay the people that work those longer hours, and the council has not chosen to give the money to work those longer hours.
Been into early voting at different times where there are more people working than there are in there to vote. And so I'm wondering about staffing levels, whether or not it would be appropriate for the first 2 weeks to perhaps reduce some of the staffing there to help save some money.
That's what I already do. The first 2 weeks, we're at a lower number. And then the second 2 weeks of the full 28 days, we increase the number up to the full staffing.
And are there, the times I've been down there, there's rarely a line of people waiting at all. So I'm wondering if it's feasible, especially given what the clerk has heard about future years, to perhaps reduce that by just a little bit more.
I did that with the numbers that I presented you guys today. We would normally have more than what I have accounted for this year. We generally have about 12 to 14 clerks, and I have cut it down to, I believe, 10 for the general and eight for the primary.
Okay, so what do we need to do?
I will say that having an election board that will be present at the county council meeting, if we go before them to bring up the issues, will probably be the best solution so that they see that it's across the board, not just one individual coming to them saying, we don't have the money to do this. Knowing that the election board all wants it to stay the way that it's always been, but we don't have the money for it to be the way that it's always been. But also the staff in my office are constantly working during early voting. At least 2 of us are there until 6 p.m. every single night of early voting. And with the overtime hours being cut, that's leaving us in the situation of trying to figure out how we're going to balance schedules when we're very busy during that time, both in the office and during early voting, but as well as training going on that month at the same time.
Do we surmise that the general public yet understands what you are being forced to do because of dollars?
We have a very select few people who do understand, and then we have had a couple of individuals reach out to us to ask how they can help us.
So in the media sitting a couple rows beyond you could probably help us with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This also relies on having 29 polling locations, is that correct?
There is 2 setups there. There's one for having 29 polling locations and one for 22. Myself and staff have worked the past couple of weeks on figuring out where the best numbers will be to set 22 locations without disenfranchising anybody in the outer parts of the county, but also making sure that we're not overcrowded on anywhere that is inside of the city. And then there are a couple of locations that we are gonna have to look to replace, which are both on those lists as well. One of which was Meadowwood. They are having some construction that I have been informed about that could potentially cause issues next year. So I have looked at replacing them and all of those are on your guys' list of polling locations for next year.
There have been a number of elections where there have been 0 sheriffs, both hired and trained. Can I ask what the purpose of the sheriffs is for the general election?
The purpose of the sheriff is to keep general order in the area. It's not like police order, but just make sure that lines are running smoothly. And so we don't at our smaller locations. I don't recall ever having one where we have 0 sheriffs. The smaller ones, we don't use sheriffs. Larger, like our schools and our churches, we do, just to kind of keep the lines moving and keep people who might be confused in, going on the path that they need to go on to vote efficiently.
And on the numbers that I give you guys, I did do no sheriffs at all during the primary election and have sheriffs at some, I believe, almost all of the locations in the general, again, because of the feedback that we're getting about potential higher turnout in the midterm than what we're expecting.
So is it just 1 sheriff per location generally?
Yes.
Generally 1. If it's a really large location like St. John's, that's our largest location in the county. I think they have close to 5,000 to 6,000 people that vote there. We have 2 at that location.
So with 22 locations, why would we need 41 sheriffs?
It's, again, putting 2 sheriffs at the bigger locations and 1 at the smaller locations.
So you're only putting 1 sheriff at 3 locations? The others all have 2? If you've got 41 sheriffs in 22 locations?
Don't have that list with me. I'll have to get
It's on
that
what
to
you
you.
gave us.
Yeah, I know I don't have that sheet with me.
Can't schedule that for which you cannot pay. So the only option would seem to be visiting with the county council with this and saying, this is what we can do with what you've given to us versus what we've done in the past. You tell us what you want us to do, and then we will make do with what you give us.
With the polling locations, I'm kind of needing an idea of which way we're going to lean on that because of having to reach out to these locations to make sure that they are going to move forward with continuing to be a polling location with us next year. There is 1 location on there, which is the Boys and Girls Club. They are completely new, so I just need them to fill out the survey of what we will need to bring to that location since they have already said that they would be committed to being with us.
Okay, so that kind of moved into the next thing on the agenda was the locations.
Yeah.
I know we'd like to have lots of polling locations. I'd like to have 1 in each precinct, but we don't have the money for that. How much do you, I'm sorry, you two, what, yeah, you're working, go ahead. What do we save by doing 22 versus 29? Is that on here that I haven't actually went through yet?
So,
Okay, I see it, yeah. Okay. And that total out to the right is the total.
correct. For the
So
full year.
we're talking $16,000 by going to 22. Okay.
And because the same number of voters are eligible to vote next year as was the presidential, which is everyone, my preference would be the 29 polling locations because the current voters are used to going there. When we were talking about reducing the number of polling locations, that was because we were considering vote centers, which is not an option of which I am aware at this time.
So again, I think that's where we are. I mean, do we need to pick 22 or 29 today? Is that?
I don't think you have to approve a list today. I think you can provide guidance to Ms. Ferris on who you'd like her to reach out to, whether it's 29 or 22, to have a conversation with them to see if they're available, what the situation is. And then later you can approve, based on what Ms. Ferris figures out, later you can approve the list. So you don't have to approve it today.
So without looking at it, if you have 22 versus 29, you'll have the same 22 were there, correct?
Correct.
We're talking about adding 7 more. Well, then I would think the best thing to do is reach out to your 22. And then we need to find out as quickly as possible through the county council, how much money are we going to get? And then we can decide if we need to go to 29 or get to go to 29, I think would be the term. Does that make sense to you? Does that work?
I'll say I agree, just because once we reach out to locations about being polling locations, they get very excited and
Don't want to unreach out.
exactly.
Yeah. Does that work?
It
I
will
mean, it's
have
what
to.
it's what we have, you know. I'd like to go to Hawaii next week, but I don't have the money to do it. So, you know how that goes? It's kind of the same thing. Especially if it's going to stay this cold. Okay, so do we need a motion to do this?
I think you could do a motion to provide Ms. Ferris that guidance. It wouldn't be a motion to approve. So the resolution that I provided was actually approving, and I think we're not there yet.
So do we need to pass your resolution?
I would propose, no, do not pass the resolution. Passing the resolution is saying these are the polling sites, and I don't think we're there yet. I think what I'm hearing is a proposal for a motion to provide Ms. Ferris guidance to reach out to the list of 22, and then you would have a further conversation thereafter.
That work? Okay.
It will have to.
Okay, don't have to do, okay. Then I'll move that we do as Molly just said. I don't need to say the whole thing over again. It's on the record. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. So Kylie, reach out to the 22 and then keep us informed. I would like to know if we're going to actually meet at a county council meeting and say, hey, you know, this is what your decisions are going to lead us to be doing.
I think to do that procedurally, the clerk's office would have to submit a request to the county council office, and then the council's meeting on the 9th, so obviously it wouldn't be on the 9th, but their next council meeting is on the 16th of December.
None of us will be here
None of
on
us
the
will be-
16th
yeah,
of December.
Oh, it's election conference. Then, I mean, you could do it the early January meeting of 2026. I had to think for a minute what year it was.
That give you enough time to do what you need to do?
We do that meeting the 26th. It would give me enough time to get stuff turned around so that we're ready for the February meeting for approval of the locations. And then they'll have to be submitted to the county commissioners for their approval.
Okay. So why don't we, that makes sense to me. We will visit that meeting. And you said, what date was that? You said again? 12?
The council meeting date?
Yes.
The December one is December 16th. I'm looking up currently the January meeting date since the election board is unavailable for the 16th. January 13th is the first council meeting of 2026 with an agenda deadline request of January 5th. So you'd have to get your request in by the 5th
Tomorrow.
No,
of January.
Oh, January. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was not clear.
Okay. Oh, that seems to me that that pretty much is our option. All right, thank you, both of you. So do we need to go to the polling location discussion, or is that a kind of a moot point until we find out what we're doing?
Agreed.
That was you
That works,
approving,
okay,
that was you guys approving me contacting the 22.
okay. Training schedule then would be next.
So training schedule is, again, another conversation to start for now, and then move forward. It's probably going to tie into the county council meeting because of weekends and nights. We would not be able to hold those training sessions, which are the ones that always fill up the first, because it's convenient for all of our poll workers. So that'll just be tied into the conversation with the county council.
Probably travel board as well, correct, Kylie?
Yeah, so it'll essentially be all election workers, all of your absentee workers, which include the travel board and the leads, reconcilers, counters, couriers. They'll all be included.
But you, as you develop the kind of spreadsheet, I assume that you're going to put together for the, to present to the county council, could you actually detail out overtime just for training as opposed to some of the other overtime in case they want to approve additional things? Because I think it will hurt recruiting and training if we can't provide the training that has been done in the past.
I also will say that the training, we're looking at having to do a reduction on number, not the training, the recruiting, we're looking at having to do a reduction of days for the recruiters to do their jobs for the election day process, because the money's not there for that as well.
Is there any discussion on any public comment on what we've dealt with so far? I think the next one kind of changes. Okay, then. CFA4 filings. Kylie, I saw a list of that were missing.
Next is the CFA4 filings. We have a few. We've been doing some cleanup in our office to make sure that we're ready to go for January and to get ready for the next election. We have found that we have a few individuals who have not filed a CFA4. And then we also have we have 3 on this list as well, who need to close their committees because they either did not succeed in the last election or they did not actually end up being in the election. So they just need to close out their campaign finances that way that they can move forward. I just need clarification from you guys that it's okay to contact these individuals to let them know that these are the documents we're missing, and then that way they can get them submitted to us. Since some of these were found later on, I would suggest that we just not worry about the finding process for them and just ask them to get us an updated copy of their campaign finances.
See no reason not to just have you do that. I don't know if that has to be passed,
Yeah,
just do that.
Yeah, I'll just need a motion for you guys for me to reach out to them.
Do what you need to do to clean these up.
I'll make a motion for the election supervisor to reach out to the named parties regarding their CFA4s.
A second. Come through.
Those in favor, aye?
Can I ask one
Oh, I'm so
question?
sorry.
Sorry,
I'm
one
sorry.
question, sorry. Mr. Cassidy actually withdrew from the race, correct?
No, so it was past the deadline for him to withdraw, so he was removed.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sorry. That was all.
Okay, so, now
I
those
voted.
those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, reach out to those people.
Perfect.
Okay, Blue Dag update.
Blue Tag update. The contract was approved this morning at the commissioners meeting, so we will be moving forward with them. We're just waiting on some conversation between county legal and city legal to make sure that we're getting all of the partnership information down, and we'll be good. Molly is still working on that with them, so once that is signed, then we'll be good to go and start working on the surveys at the polling locations once we have the set locations.
Okay, thank you. And the vote center update is, what, do we have anything for that?
The vote center update is from the conversation that was brought up during the October meeting, and coming back to it for the December meeting because we had postponed it.
So with regard to the vote centers, both you and Mr. Grass, the Republican chair, have said that you didn't think the Republican Party was being treated fairly. That was part of your rationale for voting against the vote centers. And one of them was that you were unhappy about an appointment to a city board. You said that it was the city council. Well, it wasn't the city council, it was the mayor that was delayed in that. But also you were unhappy about a delayed appointment to the health board. And I know personally that I was out trying to recruit people at the time, but also the Republican-dominated state legislature passed legislation that indicated that in counties the size of Monroe, that we had to have one of the appointees be provided, well, that the mayor was to provide 3 nominees for an appointment for the commissioners to choose from. It took a long time and more than one request to get even just one nominee. And so again, it was the mayor, a single individual, who delayed that appointment. It was not Monroe County government, it was not the Monroe County Democratic Party. And so I feel that saying something like these delays in these 2 appointments is actually pretty petty, and it's not relevant to providing safe and secure elections here in Monroe County. And I would ask too that had these positions been filled in a way that you weren't complaining about, would you then be in favor of vote centers?
I personally am not in favor of the concept of vote centers, period. But I'm responding and voting based upon the direction I get from my chair and the leadership in the party. So I'm not necessarily personally in favor of early voting, but I understand where that is. I'm a precinct day of the election person, but I don't make those decisions. But I think it was made very plain in a meeting in Kylie's office that the direction that our chair is giving us is that we are currently not interested in vote centers. So there's no point in having, if you want to have a hearing, you're welcome to have people in. I'm not attending. Our people are not attending. So we're just kind of, I hate to waste time. So that's where we are with it.
So have you read the analysis of municipal election time and the use of vote centers in Indiana that was produced by the Secretary of State?
It came to me today, so the answer is no, I haven't read it yet.
Okay, well, the letter from the Secretary of State that is part of the preface is dated October the 31st. And in the part that deals with the use of vote centers, beginning on page 1, that says, numerous studies on vote centers and election costs have shown consistent findings of savings in the cost to administer vote center elections over precinct-based models. And precinct-based voting on election day has been found to both increasingly be expensive, both in terms of cost and the labor that's involved. They were not able to analyze the equipment that was needed, but in Monroe County, because of the way that we do our voting, it would require fewer scanners perhaps, even though it would require more printers, so that there would be an offset with that. They compared counties within Indiana that had switched both the general between 2016 and 2024. They had to omit 2020 because of COVID in their analysis, and then they also compared the midterm elections between 2018 and 2022. And on page 32, they say that counties that switched from precinct-based polling locations in 2016, in the 2016 presidential election to vote centers in 2024, quote, utilized approximately 19% fewer poll workers in 2024 than in counties that remain precinct-based. And I think this speaks to the costs that we're talking about, and perhaps we would get better cooperation from the county council if we were to go to vote centers on what the costs are. And then for the counties that switched between 2018 and 2022, the midterm elections, they said, quote, when considering precinct-based counties as a control group, counties that transitioned from a precinct-based model to a vote center model utilized approximately 22% fewer poll workers in 2022 than the counties that remain precinct-based. It goes on to talk about the cost differential, and it's about $12,000 per county per year. And they said that these findings are basically because of reduced staffing, which would make sense. They also talked about the cost per vote. They said in 2024, vote center counties spent approximately $4.80 per voter compared to $6.84 per vote for precinct-based counties. So those vote center counties spent over $2 less per vote than what the precinct-based counties are costing. So they said that the summary says, after examining multiple factors influencing the cost of election administration, the findings align closely with existing research. Vote center counties generally demonstrate greater efficiency than precinct-based counties, particularly in staffing. By operating fewer locations, vote center counties are able to conduct elections with fewer poll workers, especially on election day. While the analysis of equipment-related savings was inconclusive, discussions with county election officials indicate that most counties deploy comparable amounts of equipment usage regardless of voting model. Therefore, the most notable cost savings are associated with reduced poll worker pay, as vote center counties require fewer personnel to operate effectively. And when examining turnout, there is little evidence to suggest that vote centers made a major contribution to any increase in turnout during the time period study. So I still question your reluctance to go to vote centers. They provide convenience, they provide cost savings, and they help to with recruiting because we don't need as many people in those different operations. So again, I am in favor of vote centers, and I don't see why there is a reluctance to move to them.
Okay, thank you. I'll pass that on to my chair.
Would you please ask him also if there had not been those other two minor conveniences, if he would have been in favor?
This is not the place to get into the...
Well, you talked about him doing
Okay.
something in a private meeting, not in a public meeting.
Excuse me?
You talked about him meeting with Kylie Ferris in the election office.
he
That's
was
not a public meeting.
He was requested to come to that meeting, which he did.
Fine, it's not a public meeting, what he said there.
Okay. Again, thank you. The showers project.
Good afternoon, board members. Richard Kreider, Monroe County Building and Fleet Department, here to give you an update on the renovations at Showers North for Election Central. Everything's going on as scheduled. If you're ever in the area here soon, I encourage you to step inside and just have a peek in the window. I think you're going to be blown away at the size of this place. I brought some slides. Thank you, TSD. If you notice in this image right here, this is the main entrance of Showers. You used to be able to turn left right there and go head down the hallway, and it's been walled off now. That's the first wall to go up. Next slide, please. All right, that's from the west side. And it just doesn't really do justice, the size of this place, but I kind of wanted you to see that. Next slide, please. All right, this is, what am I looking at here? This is kind of, if you're standing in the future voters' reg office. Next slide. Just another angle. I believe right there, you're going to be, that's the maintenance area. That's Bob's area. And Bob, if you're online here, it's 11 feet from floor to the joists up above. It's spacious. Next slide. I just wanted you to kind of see what it looked like above all that ceiling tile that's been pulled away. Those are the old floor joists and big support beam, thick lumber. Next slide. All right, that's another view of if you were standing inside of early voting and looking over to what will be voters registration in the future. I think that's the last slide I have. Do you have any questions?
I did have the opportunity for other business to go over to the north side of Showers yesterday, and I could see through the window the incredible amount of work that is being done. And so kudos for everything that you're doing to expedite the project.
Thank you.
It will be really nice to have everything in one building. Yeah, that will be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Schedule okay still?
Schedule's fine.
Okay. Because Kylie kind of has a bit of a problem in her office now with flooding and.
Yes, that's unfortunate. We had a
Yes.
hot water heater break at the Johnson Hardware building, and it's just kind of thrown some wrenches and things.
Yes.
It's starting to look a little normal in there again.
Good.
So we don't need an update for,
It's looking normal. I will say that there's going to be some work that needs to be done just to get everything back in place. Me and Kreider had a decently long conversation yesterday to kind of get some ideas of where we're going to go from here. And it's going to be a lot of hours of trying to get stuff done while also working on this voterless maintenance shipment that's being delivered today. And then coming into the new year, ready to go for January 7th for candidate filing.
So sorry.
Oh, no,
You're fine.
So as fast as we're moving at Showers, Johnson is moving like molasses right now. But when you get into something like that, you have insurance companies and all types of things that you have to work with. So that's that.
Get that. As long as she can do what she needs to do down there, that her staff, works for us.
Will this actually increase the size of the election office square footage?
I think it'll still be a little bit lower than what we had combining early voting and voter registration, but it's getting close to right around the same size. It'll be definitely a lot better to have everything in one place though, because we'll also have training just right upstairs.
Yeah, I think there's a little decrease in office size, but there's increases in certain other areas, so I think it all balances out. Very thoughtful design.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Yep, thanks.
Having nothing else, I think I will open to public comment.
Good afternoon. So should I be signing this since this is the new little sign-up sheet?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm gonna do that after I'm finished with this. And my name is Cheryl Langdon, and I prepared a 3-minute comment. Every month since Charlie Kirk's murder, I have put aside a prepared statement because of the constant disruption of our constitutional right to domestic tranquility being violated by the Democratic Party. In the preamble of our Constitution, those two words have been the cornerstone for our republic's stability. The words, domestic tranquility, have been the key to our unity and sovereignty. And today, I'm putting the comment aside to remind everyone listening here that the Democratic Party continues to commit treason against our nation, very similar to the time of civil disobedience during the Civil War. No other time in our history has a party openly committed such treasons that we have been able to witness it with our own two eyes and experience it until now. Joe Biden acted as a tyrannical king, and he is the first president in American history to wittingly leave our nation's borders unsecured by openly allowing an invasion of anti-American foreign terrorists onto American soil with the help of his party, overthrowing Americans' constitutional rights to domestic tranquility. He and the Democratic Party allowed an invasion of foreign enemies to invade by air, land, sea, and by technological communications, weaponizing the internet against the American people. It was a full assault. A witness testified during the House Committee Oversight Accountability hearing, and I quote, "President Biden is the first president to ever unsecure a border on purpose," unquote. The Democrats deliberately committed treason against our nation's sovereignty. And every person hearing my words here today who voted for Kamala Harris at the last November's election are also complicit in this treasonous crime against our nation's sovereignty and our republic's election processes. Even Bernie Sanders admitted in an interview that Biden did everything he could to avoid securing our nation's borders. I support redistricting as an option to counter the damage created by the treasonous Democratic Party. I furthermore call for tribunals with a complete investigation into every person in and outside Biden's administration to be held accountable with the strongest punishment by law. And I call for a ban of the Democratic Party from any participation in our future elections. The dissolution of a major political party has not occurred since Andrew Jackson's faction breaking away from the Democrat-Repub Party that today is formed as the Democrat Party. Also, the disruption of the Great Depression and New Deal under FDR, creating a political shift transforming the Democratic Party into the party of big government. It's time to tell the Democrats to leave the political stage in the United States. It's our constitutional right to ensure our domestic tranquility. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ralph Shaw from the League of Women Voters. And after seeing those rather impressive pictures of how much space the new voting center services will have, I just wondered, will there be noise suppression in some way? The old voting operations was noisy, let's say. So can you say anything about how the space will be used and furnished? Thanks.
I'm not completely sure on how it will be, but I do know that they are going to be reinstalling the ceilings. So I think that'll help quite a bit with the noise. Since Napa was such a large space that had the tall ceilings, everything just bounced off of the walls and it got very loud in there. But we did allocate for a larger office space for the voter registration clerk that will be there. So if there is an individual who needs to step in to have a ballot read to them, or just in instance that they need it to be a little bit more quiet, they can easily step in there, close the door behind them. Also, that space will be used for any voters that need help with, say, their registration isn't showing up in the poll books, then they'll go in there as well.
And for the one-on-one with people, checking in people in the e-poll books, that will also be noise, will be less echoey?
So there actually will be a wall there that will help with subsiding the noise. So it'll kind of be in a smaller area there, and then it will open up to the actual voting booth areas. And then the scanners will be down to the far end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ceiling tiles will be much better than a metal roof with it bouncing back.
Yes.
And I'm totally with you, that's a good thing. Anyone else? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?